So can I start now?
Yep.
Okay, so thanks Maya and Alex for such a kind introduction. And so my name is Tae Jin Kim from the Materials Science and the Chemical Engineering Department at Stony Brook University. And it is it's a great pleasure to meet actually Tau Beta Pi actually this soon. Hopefully we can meet actually together face to face and soon. So today, I would like to share and then discuss about the relationship science and engineering with actually human life, and how do engineering and science actually change society. I'm sure you already know how actually much this engineering and science affected the human life and society. So because actually this topic is quite broad, and so I have prepared the kind of several and the kind of simple examples, and I hope that this example actually they help you. Okay, let me just pass the next slide. Okay, so according to the Britannica and the dictionary, actually science is any system of knowledge that is concerned with the physical world and is phenomena, and that entails the unbiased. So that's a very important word, unbiased observations and then systematic experimentation. In general, science involves the pursuit of the knowledge covering the general truths or the operation of the fundamental law. So engineering is application of science to the optimum conversion of the resource of nature to the use of the humankind. So therefore, actually, the science and engineering are very closely related. And let me show the several examples and then how science and engineering have impacted the human society. So in this slide, do you know who the person in the picture is? Anyone? It's a quite old picture, right? The gentleman's name is Martin Cooper, and Martin Cooper was born in 1928, and he is the American engineer. So let me actually so the major point, and can you see what he hold in this photo? In this cell phone, right? And do you know, so when was the first time the person called on using the cell phone? As nowadays, actually, the cell phone, I have this kind of cell phone, but can you imagine when is the first time? That's 1973. It's quite old, actually 47 years ago. And to quote an article in the New York Times, actually, the Martin Cooper said, and we want to do the dazzling demonstration. I'm sure he wants. And as you can see, and then in this photo, and Martin Cooper stood outside of the kind of Manhattan, and then actually they filled with the object that was in kind of really size, actually the child kind of boot. It's quite big. At the time, he said, I had this thing with actually the push button on it, and I was talking into it with no phone booth and no wire. So, and now actually everyone has cell phone, and then you can use cell phones a lot. And at the time, this is kind of huge news. So without actually phone booth, without actually the wire, you can call from A to B to place. So Martin Cooper, and then this is 6th Avenue, and then this the 1973 April 3rd, and then he called to Bell Lab. So this is the first time actually they called using the cell phone. So in the last few decades, actually technology has actually developed very quickly and rapidly. And nowadays, most people use a cell phone, and then we can use it for the checking the email and sometimes watching a movie, and also actually participating in the social network and then taking photos. You can do lots of things using the cell phone. And how about the future? And then when we watch the kind of science fiction movies, so we notice many products that are kind of is shown, and then it's hard to kind of nowadays hard to imagine. So this is the past, present, and then future. So how about the computer? And so everyone, I'm sure that everyone has computer system, and then computers are also a very good example. In the past, they are very, I mean, it's big size, very large size, low in data storage, and they're quite slow in speed. And also it's a no actually monitor. So, and here this Apple One. So it's, I don't know, this is kind of wood or plastic, but this is Apple One, and this is the IBM PC. And now, so we live in a very convenient world, whereas we can buy the kind of high performance such as computers and then a relatively very low price and very light, and do most of our work with those computers. And in the near future, so more groundbreaking computer system is expect and to be developed, and the AI, so artificial intelligence, so which is now is applied in many areas, is also thought to have actually a lot of influence on the computer's product. So I just give actually two examples, and the computer and cell phone. How about car? So car also, so automobiles have also affect the scope of human life, and anyone, so anyone will recognize that actually the development of science and engineering and then has directly actually affect this development of automotive technology. So do you know how many parts in a car? Just guess. How many parts? Might be 100?
1,000.
Sorry again, Connor?
50,000.
50,000. So 50,000. Yeah, actually, I think that possible. And so the in general, actually, there's about the 30,000 part. I think that Connor, you might be correct. And so around the 30,000 part in a car. And even at this time, actually, new parts are being actually developed by engineers. So someday, so this is, I just captured it from actually the fifth element, and then there's someday the flying cars and the rovers from sci-fi movies will be developed. And I think that this will also actually involve the effort of many scientists and engineers. So in addition to the car or cell phone and computer system, the development of the printing press, the antibiotic and penicillin, and then steam engine and steel and internet here actually the polymer and the electric light also changed the human life and made life more very comfortable. So these examples actually they clearly show how the science and the engineers have affected human life and society. So far, and what I showed is kind of bright side. So how about dark side? And contrary to this bright side, we can also actually see the many problems have actually arisen. So I actually prepared this slide and the two problems. The first is environmental problem, and the second is energy problem. So it is shown in this picture or some graphic design, and then we have the plastic actually and the pollution problem, and water pollution problem, and then actually the kind of climate change, and then so here is actually this is waste actually the closing problem, and also toxic gas actually the emission. So those are now it's a big problem. And also in energy problem, so as shown in the data, and we rely on the kind of higher than 80% energy from the actual fossil fuel. So those are this kind of, this is 2015 data, but still, and actually we kind of fully rely on the oil and natural gas and then coal, especially in the United States. Actually, we use the natural gases a lot. So as a scientist and also engineer, and I'm sure you are all actually the engineer and science actually the major. As a scientist and an engineers, we should ask question about this problem, and we try to find a way to solve actually this problem. So when I actually look at these several articles and then papers, so when I realized that, and also you can see how many scientists and engineers are trying to solve these problems. So we can get actually this clean water by using the membrane system. And also scientists and engineers make artificial actually cartilage bone. It's amazing. And then using the discarded genes, and then more recently, and then the UK and then many scientists and then scientists and they found that actually this enzyme and then this super enzyme actually break down the plastic. And also environmental engineers, and I just actually the environmental engineers use the principle of engineering, soil science and biology and chemistry, and to develop the solution to these environmental problems. And in catalysis part, so I'm sure so the most actually single home, most home has this car, and this car, those cars actually has the catalytic converters under the car, and that can convert actually the harmful actually gases such as the carbon monoxide and the hydrocarbon and the NOx into the nitrogen and water and carbon dioxide. So inside the catalytic converter, there's the kind of very actually the specific ratio of the material, and we call the catalyst, and most actually heterogeneous catalyst, and then the platinum and rhodium and ruthenium, those catalysts on this monolith actually the material. So how about the energy? And researchers conduct this kind of lots of research to produce the hydrogen fuel and from the just water. And then also these scientists actually also show how they actually using only water and iron and the nickel and then generate electricity, and actually also they create this hydrogen actually energy. And so this perovskite, the solar cell material, and that's also help to store the solar energy, and then you can actually use it later. And catalyst, and then catalyst also they use a lot and to convert actually this biomass into the chemical and the fuel. And many actually researcher and national lab and then the United States actually the government, the Department of Energy, they are also interested in this renewable energy. This is the kind of the wind energy. And U.S. Department of Energy, again, is also showing a great interest in the renewable energy and in helping the scientists and then engineers. So although it's a many science, actually engineer and then economic development, actually they have made the human life easier and very comfort. But as I show in this several slide, also we have the several issues. So, and we as a scientists and engineers, so we have to also think how can we solve this kind of environmental problem or the energy issue. Okay, so let me show the next slide, and then okay. Okay, so I prepared one more actually the example, and then this is the additive manufacturing, or we call the 3D printing technology. And so it's a very popular, and then the 3D printing or additive manufacturing is applied in very actually the broad area. So as you can see in the first actually using this 3D printing technology, and you can build a house and also this bridge, and then this is a reactor system and also car, and also you can actually make these human organs. So and my lab also, there's many research lab has the kind of 3D printer, but actually this 3D printing technology is a very kind of complicated. Also, you have to use kind of proper material, and you need to know how to and make the code and how to transfer the file to this hardware. So some engineers also developed this new methodology to use actually this 3D printing with a high resolution. Sorry. Okay. And so 3D printing actually has been widely used and also distributed to university and high school and even kind of just actually the family. And this slide actually showed the kind of example, this mask product by high school and then college student, and very recently. And through the sketching, there's a 3-step, and the sketching and drawing and then printing. And through the sketching, drawing, and printing procedures, the student made this transparent as mask for actually the people who can hear it well and then need to kind of read lips. So although this is kind of one example, but the student can actually produce a variety of the items through the sketching and drawing, actually printing mask. And also and not only this mask product, but actually the engineer and scientists also can produce the different types of reactor system and using this actually 3D printing technology. And it's my actually research area, mainly at the catalysis, and then this, especially the energy related and then environmental related catalysis. And so for the future science and engineering development, the network in between the industry and academia, and also industry and university, is very important. And students actually study science and engineering in a university, and they will later and then play a major role in future science and engineering in the industry or other research institution or actually university. So ultimately, actually, the effect, the social development is kind of this huge. So the example in this slide is actually the university conduct fundamental research and to develop the new material, and in this case, new catalyst, and then characterize, and then do some activity tests, and then see the small size and the lab scale is a small size, and then the industry, and then they test this material and then just judge, so we can use this material as a commercial. So that's why the relationship between the industry and academia is very important in science and engineering, and also the government agencies, for example, Department of Energy and the National Science and Foundation and NIH, and those agencies also have major role to support the engineering and science in the United States. So back to the question. So how do engineering and science impact our and the lives? What do you think?
It seems like science drives um, science drives the innovation, and um, then the engineering side is us actually taking all that research and data that we get from all these new technologies and innovations and applying it to make our lives more convenient and easy in solving the problems in our world.
Yes, I mean, Alex, actually, I fully agree with you. And I strongly believe that engineering and science have a positive effect on our kind of lives. And in the future, the engineering science are very important the factors in the enriching the human life. But I also gave some example. There's some the kind of problem, and then when this economic and then actually develop, and many people just kind of we have lots of waste. So this is kind of big problem, and I can actually give some before I just finished. I can give some example and oh sorry this. So, and as Maya actually kind of briefly explained, our research group and then collaborate with the FIT and other faculty members. So what we want to recycle and then the fabric, cotton fabric, and I mean again, and so in general, so what you can do, so you can actually make this cotton fabric into the glucose and the kind of monomer, and then you can actually regenerate this fabric. But what our group actually, and my collaborators can do, we just kind of de-weave this fabric material, and then we spin again, and then we use again. So it's quite challenging topics, but it's quite interesting topic at the same time. And before I started actually this research, I actually never expect how it's difficult. And I can just give some example. Okay, let me just sorry, okay, so I can just okay. So what you can do, so we put some chemical, and this is a kind of small size, and we put actually this cotton fabric, and we spin, and it's just not water, and then we put actually this three different chemical, and we hold this maybe this 1 hour, and then after 1 hour, and we found that we found that actually this cotton fabric can be de-weaved. And but so as just also scientists and engineers, actually we hope to know how we can actually de-weave. And this kind of fabric material, cellulose fabric materials are very hydrophobic. And also, so yeah, first we have to swell this cellulose structure, and then we need to actually de-weave. So, and using the different types of characterization tool, and then you can actually see how molecular structure and the electron structure is changed. And then using the optical and then the electron microscope, you can see so this the image, and then how this the cellulose structure is the. So again, as a scientist and engineer, and then I hope you all actually give some very positive impact on our kind of society. Okay, so let me go back to, okay, sorry, actually. Okay. So finally, and I would like to thank Stony Brook University and the Brookhaven National Lab and Research Facility and then funding agency. And also, especially, I would like to thank the students at Stony Brook University who are passionate about science and then engineering and research. And Maya is one of my son and current student. And so I hope the all students in this meeting and then should kind of participate in the research topic and any research topic in the near future. Okay, thanks again, and then I'll take your kind of questions.
Yes, thank you so much, Dr. Kim. We would clap for you right now, but on Zoom it's not as easy.
Okay, so can I just actually stop the sharing, or what do you want?
You can stop the sharing so we can move on to our Q&A session. So guys, basically just throw your questions into the chat, and we have so many brilliant minds right now, and me and Maya will kind of moderate those questions. But I do want to start it off by asking this question. And there's a lot of misconception that um, research and being in the lab is boring. Can you tell me about some of your most exciting times that you were in a lab, like either finding like really cool results or something?
Okay, so first, actually, doing research in a lab is not boring, and and I I mean, still, I like to do the hands-on experiment in my lab and working with the student. And that's why in the last slide, I especially thanks to our actually Stony Brook student, and I learned lots of things from student. And I'm just a humble scientist, humble just faculty member. So students should give some the and the strong motivation. Sometimes it brings some crazy idea. So that's what you have to do. You have to prepare. So if you think, oh, the running the experiment in lab is boring, that might be true, but that's that depends on person. And then just think positive. And then before you enter the lab, and think positive. Okay, so today I will and finish the one kind of actually it might be minor thing, but I will finish the one experiment, and then I will think about the what I have done last several days, and then today, and then checking the website, and then reading the paper, and then also the talk with your faculty member. And if your faculty member is kind of wrong, you can criticize. Oh, Dr. Kim, this is I don't think that you're correct, and then my idea is different, and definitely I will hear you. So, and I hope, or actually the Tau Beta Pi, actually the student, hope to enjoy this kind of lab experience.
Amen. We had another question that came up, and we got it right here. It is, how does your how do you do your literature review for research?
Okay, so that is very important, and that's a very good question. So, and because actually when I start it's the kind of new topic, especially first, actually I try to read lots of paper, might be 100 or 150. I made the folder, and then I download actually the published paper and the article, and I try to understand what other people have done and what other things are still missing. That's why, and then the undergraduate students especially try to read the lots of paper. And sometimes actually definitely sometimes we cannot fully understand whole papers. And so that's why what I recommend, just try to first read the introduction. And introduction is actually quite short, might be maximum 2 pages. And then try to read about 10 papers and 20 papers, and you can see, oh, so these researchers actually they kind of has the same kind of opinion or different opinion, and then same approach and different approach. So you can feel, for example, the kind of mask design, they're using the 3D printer. I'm not the expert in 3D printer, but I know this 3D printing technology is very important. And so I read a kind of very simple paper. I try to understand how it works. And then next step is okay, so now how can I use this 3D printer for the kind of our research, reactor design, and then kind of chemical reaction. So, and so that's why that's actually another important part. You have very good actually the network and tau beta pi is group. So different major. different people. So to try to communicate each other, and then you try to learn from other actually the major. That's very important. So that's why this networking and then communication with other people is very important.
And that's perfect. I have two more questions. I have one is a follow up on that last question, and they're asking how much literature do you expect the students you are working with to read?
Uh, okay, so realistically, and then I mean, I ask my son to actually read at least 10, at least 10, and so 10 is still actually not enough number, but if you read 10 papers and you can feel, you can see, okay, this is my project, and then you can feel, okay, I'm interested. One or two paper, oh, too low number, and 100 are too many. So I think the 10 is kind of reasonable, because you have to take care of the other classes, and then you have to take care of other things. So, and during the kind of the research period, and 10 papers might be actually a good number.
Okay, thank you so much. And I have another question that came from a side channel. The question is, at the environmental catalysis laboratory, what what do they do as a whole? So they were asking that are the projects that you guys are working on just with the catalytic converter and the actual the biodegradable washcloth, or is there more research that you guys are doing over there in that lab?
So we have there's lots of limitation, and then in academia, and then you cannot directly compare to kind of the big industry lab. But my lab, my research team, we try to cover the kind of broad range, and we start from synthesis. And first we read lots of paper, and then we think, okay, this a catalyst might be good, actually the candidate for some reaction. So we synthesize, we modify. First, after we synthesize the catalyst, and then we have some kind of several characterization tool, and also we apply the kind of proposal to the Brookhaven National Lab. And then Brookhaven National Lab has such a state-of-art actually the instrument there. So also the scientists is amazing. So we actually submit the proposal. If they accept our proposal, we can also kind of do some characterization. So synthesis and characterization. So now you have material, and then you know how actually the material looks like. And then we also in our labs, we test it. So we flow toxic gas, for example, nitrogen monoxide and then carbon monoxide. And carbon monoxide, nitrogen monoxide, toxic gas. So we try to convert into the N2 and or CO2. And so using the reactor system, we can confirm, okay, this A catalyst is better than B catalyst, and B catalyst is better than C catalyst. So it's kind of the whole kind of package: synthesis, characterization, and then activity test. And then so we can talk with the industrial actually people. Okay, so we have this catalyst, and then what do you think? And but there's a huge gap. Frankly speaking, there's a huge gap, and so we cannot directly supply to the kind of industrial actually scale, and then or commercialize we cannot compete to commercialize the catalyst, but and it helps actually.
Man. So thank you so much, Dr. Kim. We kind of ran over a little bit of the time because everybody had some great questions for you. We appreciate you taking the time out of your Ignite to come speak with us. And all our members, this is the end of the actual Zoom meeting. You can feel free to like stay a little bit if you want, but that is all for today. And everybody has been counted in for event credit who has been here. So thank you guys so much. We got a lot of things for you.
Thank you, and I really appreciate. Okay, so keep safe and healthy.